Hello, welcome. I'm so happy that you are here. My name is Cara. This is Barnabas. If you don't already know us, welcome. I have healed my dog's serious, he had dry, flaky skin, eye goop, ear infections, constantly chewing, constantly scratching. He is a golden doodle, so apparently they're somewhat prone to some of these things, or maybe it's the region that you live in. And I'm Cara. I have a whole host of long laundry list health background. I won't bore you with it all right now. But welcome to this channel, and if you're new here, I'm so happy to have you. We talk about what Barnabas eats and what I eat, and hopefully that inspires you for what you feed your beloved pup and what you feed yourself and your family. So let's go ahead and look at right away, what am I eating today? Barnabas has already eaten. We're gonna get into that in a second. So I just wanted to show you a few things. I've got one hard-boiled egg, salt and pepper. Usually I eat about 3 or 4 eggs actually in the morning. I've got, these are sardines, not always the prettiest, and why does that look like a scrawny amount? It's just the rest of the can. Barnabas has already eaten the sardines this morning. I have some Village yogurt with Village honey, and I'll get into that what I mean by Village. Village cheese, a baby pear, how cute is that? A little apricot, and then this is actually called Kaimak. This is, and I'll explain where I am, what region I'm in. This is kind of like a cross between butter and cream cheese. It's like a thick cream with honey, and then I smear it on, you typically get smeared on some kind of bread or toast. I'm smearing it on fruit today. And then I've got my lemon water, and then one of the stars of the show always, if you don't know, you should know. So olives and a place for the pits. The pits, not the pits. The pits. So in Mediterranean cuisine in the Middle East, everyone eats olives all the time because it's known that it helps with digestion. So there's your first tip. And I've got my lemon water. I already had an iced coffee and some lemon water. So this is the setup for right now. What did Barnabas eat this morning? So Barnabas, we always start out the morning. This is kind of like a little bit of a routine I'll tell you about in this particular video. And he's definitely sleepy. He's eaten. And these videos are totally raw, unedited. It's just one take. So hopefully you like this kind of style and content. I'm not going to bother with editing. And this is just to give you an insight, peel it back, like what does real life look like for us. I split my time in 2 different places. So in one place, I'm in a house with a really beautiful, beautiful kitchen. And in the other place, I live in an apartment with a darling, tiny, itty bitty little European style kitchen. And so I don't want that to be an excuse for anyone. Like, oh, I live in a, whatever. No. And one place is more suburban, one place is more city. And the reason I do that is because I split my time in 2 different countries, because my home country, which is the United States, maybe you can tell from my accent, I moved abroad and fell in love with living abroad, and long story short, have been abroad for 10 years plus, and then actually based in Turkey for the last 5 years. And so that's kind of what I was talking about, Village. So, but I want to say what Barnabas ate this morning. So we always start off with some kind of mental game. I start him off in the morning. We go out. He has a little potty, and then he usually comes back in. Sometimes he drinks water, but the first thing he loves, and probably your pup does too, food. So I start him off with a game, something to get his little brain going. There are these really cool, I'll have to show it in another video, but these really cool types of games, because some dogs like treats. Barnabas is a treat kind of dog, so that's a motivator for him. He's never been into like balls and sticks and fetch, and he's just not. So I hide the treats, and then we play this little, have this little routine. Dogs love routines, you know that, right? Just like children, and in fact, they thrive off kind of knowing what's gonna happen, right? It's like their circadian rhythm, they know. So after our game, which just takes him, a handful of minutes, when I first got this game for him, see, it's not perfect. It's not that's evidence. It's not perfect. Do you have a little itch? But man, is it 99.2% better than it was. You okay? I'm just chilling. You're my guy, good boy. So after our game, which I hide the little treats, then I make him wait, and we have like a little routine. We sit and snuggle. So that's when I have like my morning water and a coffee, and kind of do my morning routine, which is usually sitting in this location. We're in Turkey right now, so we usually sit here in the mornings and kind of have like a little bit of a snuggle, and I do a little bit of prayer and a little bit of kind of just contemplative, slow start to the morning. That's our routine. And then after that, after we've kind of had our coffee time, snuggle time, then we'll go ahead and start to make him breakfast. So today what he had was a beautiful bowl of eggs, hard-boiled, chopped up. He had a little bit of sardines today. And the fruit we have right now, we usually chop up really small bites. I think he had pear today. And I think he had some green apple. And then we also we always put some kind of good probiotic. So we get different kinds of pickled vegetables. They're very common here, pickled vegetables. So basically like sauerkraut. In the United States, we just don't dial in to eating fermented foods, which is such a bummer. I think maybe 100 years ago we did in the United States. But in Europe, in different parts of like Eastern Europe and the Balkans, and in Asia Minor where we are, and in the Middle East region, which is still where we are, so Eastern Europe, Middle East regions, fermented foods are very common every single day. So we get these huge pieces, I'll have to show this in another video, we get these huge pieces of cabbage, like a whole cabbage that was cleaned, washed, and then fermented. And so we actually, instead of it being sliced, our sauerkraut, we just get these huge pieces of cabbage. So then we chop that up for him, and he always gets cabbage pickled. Lots of times we'll get a lot of other vegetables pickled as well here. It's a very common thing to find jars of pickled things. Some spice, some with no spice for obvious. He does not get anything with spice. And we always put a big dollop of Village yogurt, fresh yogurt. And then I usually supplement his meals with something. Right now we have, it's actually eggshells. So the nutrients from eggshells that's been ground into a fine powder. And there's a few other minerals that are added. So it's a little bit of like a mineral supplement. I also am a huge fan. I take myself and Barnabas almost daily beef organs, which is fantastic. If you're not into beef organs, I highly recommend checking out, just Google beef organs. And I have my favorites, and if you want more information, look in the description box. I'll put my favorites. There's one that I give Barnabas that I get very easily, and it's such a good brand in the United States. I've had a harder time finding it in Turkey, so I usually like stock up. And then there's a female, just for females. So it's got more of the female organs. It's got fallopian tubes, ovaries, uterus, plus the highlights, which are liver, kidney, heart, throw in some spleen, and all the other organs, which of course is just ancient wisdom, right? Our ancestors ate organs, and they ate them like, they ate nose to tail, and then they cooked them, and they were usually very special because you didn't have as much volume, of course, and the nutrients are like off the chart. I'll have to do a separate video on just talking about beef organs and why you should be eating them and your entire family. So that was what we put down. And how do I calculate like what he eats, like based on his size? He's 20 pounds. And basically I gauge it by what I used to feed him, what the family used to feed him before I started making his food, and based on like the quantities that they have on the measurements, and then I just simply gauged that. So like I said, he didn't eat a whole can of sardines. Today he had one whole egg. If for some reason I didn't prep enough food, which I'm pretty good about prepping, but I have run into it where, let's say I didn't make any hard-boiled eggs, and I didn't even have any ground beef or ground lamb. Those are the ruminant animals, cow and sheep, goat. Those are the ruminant animals that we eat, especially ground. Then sardines are so handy. It's so handy to have a tin of sardines. So, but usually I make a dozen eggs, hard-boiled eggs at a time. So I always have that as a grab and go. Those are, people talk about traveling with like protein bars, which, you know, do what you need to do. I'm like, I just travel with eggs, you know. I mean, do I let the hard-boiled eggs sit out in the sun? No, obviously. But your egg can get room temperature. In fact, if you're an American, you probably put your eggs in the fridge, but if you're in Europe, they don't do that. That's just, you know, something to know. But some people, you know, love their protein bars, and there's a ton of different ingredients in protein bars, which makes it a highly processed food. Like, do what you need to do. I think pemmican are more, you know, the authentic type of, you know, protein bar. If you don't know what pemmican is, I'll have to do a video on it, but look it up, pemmican, but protein bar. The ancient ancestral pemmican protein bar. I don't know, I'm not into like highly processed foods, which protein bars are. So I just like have 2 or 3 like hard-boiled eggs in a bag. I salt it, and then usually I even put a couple pieces of fruit in there, and like, or dates, and then that's what I take to go. But anyway, I digress. So but it is another tip. It is another tip for you. Just make extra hard-boiled eggs and peel the shell, like peel them so that they're like ready to eat. A little sip of water. And I'll go ahead and start to have a little bit of my nibbles. Olive. How do you eat an olive politely? Take your fish. There you go. So that was his breakfast. We feed him in the morning and then again in the evening. So he only gets 2 meals a day, and continuously like refreshing his water, making sure I sometimes put ice in there. I tried to do the lemon and apple cider vinegar for his water at one point, but he's not having it. So that's fine. That's totally fine. He's sleepy. And so you can see what I'm eating. So this channel is really to inspire you about looking at what you're eating, looking at what you're consuming. Maybe you have excuses like, oh, I don't have enough time to cook, or I don't know how to cook, or it's expensive to eat healthy, right? We can all have excuses till the cows come home, as they say. However, for anything that's important in our life, we're going to prioritize. And so skip the excuses and just simply start with some simple basics. And when you're beginning the day, I am not at all a fan of this tremendously unhealthy health advice, which is eat a big breakfast or eat as soon as you wake up. Everybody should kind of tune in, like if we were going out into the field and it was 5 a.m., yes, you should probably eat before you go out into the field and work a full day's work. You know, if it was like 100, 150 years ago, 200 years ago. But since that's not our lifestyle, you might want to go longer, because breakfast is breaking your fast, right? Because we didn't eat overnight. And for some people, myself included, if I eat in the morning, I literally, even if it's just a few bites of something, I literally start to kind of, like, my body rejects it, and my stomach starts to kind of not feel great, and it actually slows my energy down. Like, that's how in tune I've become, where I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's, you know, this is not a good idea, even if it's just a light, you know, piece of something. So I always do my water, always have a coffee or a tea, just depending. I always have cream, milk with my coffee, and with my tea actually. And then I eat when I'm hungry. And because I'm, you know, I base a lot of my health on my circadian rhythm. Here's another tip. If you don't know about your circadian rhythm, if you don't know about circadian rhythm, look it up. It has to do with your body being in sync with the sun. Yes, the sun that we're taught to fear. No, don't fear it. It is what gives us life. That could be another topic. All right, I'll have to take notes for myself. So you eat whatever your last meal is the day before, of course, just like Barnabas. And then we go without food. We fast for 8, 9, 10, 11, however many hours. For me, I don't actually eat again until I actually feel hungry. And I've hydrated myself, I've had a little caffeine, and then I consume food. And as you can see, I am not anti any food except for poison. And poison would be highly processed foods, chemical foods, additives, multi ingredient list foods that you can't even pronounce and you don't even know what they are, packaged boxes. I'm against eating like things that are going to harm us, that are toxic, that are poison, because duh. So, you know, whatever the trend you want to call it, whatever you want to call it, it's single ingredient food, animal based, carnivore, keto, whatever you want to call it. I just simply don't consume things often like bread, pasta, rice, that kind of thing. I'm not going to say I never consume them. But I understand the difference between getting fresh. Let's say I'm in Europe and in Turkey, I can get fresh, delicious bread I know only has 3 or 4 ingredients in it, and it's going to go bad in like a day or two because it doesn't have any preservatives. It doesn't have any shelf life. It's meant to be eaten. Occasionally I love a plain croissant, like a French flaky plain croissant. There's something about it. But I also know that my system doesn't do great when I would have more than, you know, one in a week span or something like that. So, but you can see from my food, it's simply, and this is typical, I would actually maybe have, I try not to mix my dairy with meat. That's just a personal choice. And so I'll have egg and dairy. I don't mind having fish and dairy, but I try not to mix like ruminant animals like cow or sheep, goat with my dairy. That's just my personal choice. I love having a steak and egg breakfast. Iced water with lemon, coffee, and then, oh my gosh, having a steak and some eggs with butter, nothing better. And all of that food is going to satiate my body. My brain gets a signal, ooh, we're full, because it's so much good animal fat. And this is a whole nother topic, of course, but as we know, fat has been so like misused and miscalculated, and this terrible advice about not consuming fat, animal fat, has really been one of the biggest catalysts for the spiral of unhealthy people we have, at least in my country. More on that topic later, but animal fat. Like, first of all, it tastes good. If it tastes that good, if like chicken skin baked tastes that good, or like when you're eating a steak and you get that bit of fat, if it tastes that good, yolk and egg white together, it tastes that good for a reason. So there's wisdom in that. So eating this simply though, it just makes me feel like I have a ton of energy. I don't feel the food. This is another huge tip. When you eat, you really shouldn't feel the food in your stomach. You definitely shouldn't feel like you're distended. You definitely shouldn't feel bloated. You definitely should not feel tired. You shouldn't be like, hey, do I take a nap? Like, you're literally poisoning yourself in maybe a different way that you're thinking about what poison is, but you're harming your system when you consume things that make you feel distended, bloated, uncomfortable, sleepy. Think about that. Just think about that. So if you take nothing else from this video, make your puppy real food. Maybe it's the same food you're eating, because it's all human grade, obviously. And treat your body in a way, eat nourishing things that make you feel energized and ready to go afterwards, not bloated and like, ugh. And if you've ever traveled to Europe, especially if you're from America and you're watching this, hi, and you've ever traveled to Europe, I mean, there's such an abundance of videos right now online where people are like, nobody ever talks about it, but you know, I go to Europe and I eat more than I could possibly consume. I walk a ton, and then I get back to America and I'm eating this processed food and I'm driving and I feel terrible right away. That's because you detoxed, maybe unknowingly, while you were in Europe eating just normal food. It's not a trend. It's not some sort of like woo-woo thing. It's just normal to eat food that isn't chemical and processed and is fresh. It's just normal. It's just normal in many parts of the world. But in America, it's not normal anymore. It used to be, like our grandparents grew up with just like food. But you'll notice, anybody who's American who's traveled to Europe, you know what I'm talking about. And you get back and you're like, oh, I don't feel good after that. But then we're conditioned. Now I'm gonna say me because I'm in the same system. Like, I've been conditioned to be like, nope, that's fine. This portion of food is totally normal. Just take some home with you in a doggy bag. You know, oh, you don't feel good, just take this antacid. Oh, you don't, you know, blah, 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 whatever. Oh, you must be gluten intolerant, blah, 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 whatever. It's because you're being poisoned. And I can say it's because when I'm in America, it's one of my number one priorities. I have to feed myself. I have to feed Barnabas. When I'm with my family and I'm cooking for them, we're eating. So it is a massive priority. And like anything else, if it's a priority for you, you'll make it happen. But simply, I project ahead. I plan ahead. I go grocery shopping ahead, or I go to a village market or a farmer's market. That's the key, is planning ahead, just like you would anything else that matters to you. Last thing I'll say is village cheese. So do you see the color of this cheese? Have you ever purchased? Excuse me. Have you ever purchased cheese that looks closer to like orange or yellow? Okay. What color is the cow's milk? Right, exactly. This is the color that all cheese should be, or a variant of this. Whether it's hard cheese, soft cheese, semi-soft cheese, you know, more of like a kefir, like a yogurt. If you're consuming something that is orange, that is not real. That is obviously has some kind of dye in it. Think about that. No cow has orange milk. All right. So when I talk about Village, what I mean by this is there's no preservatives. We buy food almost every day. We're constantly, every week we go to the Village Market or the farmer's market. We call it Village Market here. And we get our eggs. We get our cheese. We go to the butcher. We get our fruit. We get our vegetables. We get everything every week. And because nothing has any kind of preservatives, it's all fresh and it's going to go bad. So you have to, you just buy much smaller quantity. That's another thing. And when you're eating high nutrient foods, meaning like fresh foods, you just eat less volume. You know, it's not like empty calories. It's a bag of chips. So that's what I mean by Village. It simply is fresh. It was literally made, brought to the Village Market, you purchased it, and you took it home. It didn't travel across 12 states. It didn't fly in on a plane and then get on a truck and get delivered to your store. It's, again, we have been so conditioned in America to just be like, I'm just gonna go get my boxes and bags of food that have been sitting on the shelf that were made, who knows, but like were flown in or drove in on a truck and they're sitting here on a shelf, and so conditioned to be like, yep, that's normal. And then people eat that like 2-3 times a day, and snacks. People wonder why, like, I don't know, their dogs are sick, their dogs don't live long. By the way, Barnabas is 15 years old. Yes, I'm talking about you. And like most people and dogs, he loves to sleep. He loves naps. And like I said, he had had his breakfast. So this is a typical part of Barnabas's day. Lots of lovely naps. But he's 15 years old. He just turned 15 this month. And I'm so grateful because his joints are excellent. His organs are excellent. I've gotten him tested to do his like normal tests. And when I was trying to heal him in this like long 1 year plus 1.5 year journey of like, all right, diligently cooking, making his food every single day. Like he did not consume any kibble. Yeah, a lot of things like healed. And like I said, it's not perfect. It's not like he never scratches or never itches, but it is like 99% better. And his skin is soft and it's not flaky, and he's not as flaky and kind of nasty in his paws, and he barely has any ear infections ever. He doesn't have the eye goop. He doesn't smell. His poop is normal. Like, his joints are amazing. His organs are amazing. His coat is amazing. His breath is great. Like, his breath is great, and we don't brush his teeth. So, he does get a lot of cold slices of cucumber, though, which might be somewhat brushing his teeth because he loves them. And then he does, you know, the golden doodle thing, of course, the thing. So, well, I hope this has been informative, entertaining. I am going to go ahead and dive into my yummy food. I hope you have a wonderful day, and feel free to, if this is helpful, subscribe to this channel, because all the videos here are simply to help entertain and educate you on what you and your pup are eating, and your family as well, hopefully. And we also have an Instagram, carnivore_club_Izmir. So if you want to follow us on Instagram as well and see what we eat over there. And stay tuned for more good things coming up. Have a great day. Bye.